And this is FTH 202-51961, week 4 assignment. Today's date is March 9th, 2024, and this is for Professor John Nagy. Today we're going to be working again with the Taurus 856 revolver. I do have the action open with the chambers clear to show that the firearm is clear. I'm going to start by gauging the trigger pull weight. So I am going to put snap caps inside the firearm while I test the trigger pull. I'm going to do an overhead view of the trigger being pulled with the gauge showing the trigger. I will be pulling the trigger 3 times, and this is in double action. Okay, so I got 3 pulls. That gives me an average of 10 pounds, 13.1 ounces. So I'm gonna go with that. And now I'm gonna go to the single action trigger pull. And of the 3 single action trigger pulls, I have a trigger weight, an average trigger weight of 4.95 ounces. So that's going around the average range of 10 pound double action trigger pull with a 5 pound single action trigger pull. Now I'm going to open up the firearm, remove the grip and the side plate, and go inside to the internals. I'm going to put layout fluid on the frame and the action parts of the firearm, reassemble the firearm, check for the high marks and polish those down, reassemble the firearm, and check the trigger pull weight again. In this video, I will not be showing myself disassemble the firearm. I'm just going to show it with the firearm open and the layout fluid being applied. Now I'm going to apply the Dykem layout fluid to the cylinder stop, this portion of the cylinder stop that rubs against the bottom of the cylinder. Now I have laid the Dykem fluid, reassembled the firearm, cycled the action multiple times, and disassembled the firearm again so I could locate the high spots pointed out by the Dykem fluid. After that, I went on and polished the areas. We were told to look at the side plate, and it did show marks of the hammer rubbing here. So I polished here with the needle files and the sanding stones. I also polished the cylinder stop. in this area because this is the area that was rubbed off with the Dykem fluid. I lightly polished the double action and single action sear with the polish, with the sanding stones only. Just a light polish. I didn't want to risk removing any metal at all from there. I did a polish on the hand, just the tip of the hand that contacts the ratchet. That was the only spot that showed contact. And on the frame itself, notice the hammer marks here as well, matching the side plate. So I used the needle files here as well as the sanding stones to remove the high spots in this area. Now I am going to reassemble the firearm and check the trigger pull by feel, and also check the trigger pull with the trigger gauge. After polishing the internals of the firearm, the frame, and the parts we were told to polish, the hand, the cylinder stop, side plate, the frame itself, and the double action sear and the hammer, there are snap caps loaded in the firearm. I can say there is a very noticeable difference in the trigger pull. Single action, I may feel a little bit, but I can't really tell that much. But I can really feel a difference in the double action trigger pull. So now I'm gonna go on and do a trigger pull gauge now after the work I've done. Now we're going to gauge the trigger weight pull after polishing the inside of the firearm. With those 3 trigger pulls and double action, I have an average weight of 8 pounds, 1.2 ounces. The original weight was 10 pounds, 5.1 ounces. So that is a difference. Now I'm going to check the single action trigger pull. Okay, now that reading seems a little more accurate. And with those 3 trigger pulls, it has a trigger weight of 4.42 ounces. The original trigger pull was 4.95 ounces. Now I'm going to change the springs and do another trigger pull gauge after changing the springs. Now I'm going to do another trigger pull. This is after the polishing of the inside of the firearm and the internal parts, as well as changing the reduced power springs. So now we're going to see 3 trigger pulls. This is the double action trigger pull. Now the double action trigger pull weight shows an average of 5 pounds, 9.6 ounces, just under 6 pounds. Now I'm going to check the single action trigger pull. Now I have a single action trigger pull of 2 pounds, 2.3 ounces, and that is a very big difference. Now I'm going to demonstrate checking the head space. This is a 357 go gauge, and what I'm going to do is I marked a chamber with the pencil so I can keep up with the chambers that I'm checking. Now I'm going to rotate the cylinder to see if it rotates with the go gauge in, and it does. I'm going to do it one more time. And there it has come out, so that chamber isn't the correct headspace for the go gauge. All 6 of the chambers did pass with the go gauge, showing that they do have the proper headspace. Now I'm going to test with the no-go gauge. I'm going to place the no-go gauge into the first chamber. And as you can see, the cylinder won't even close with the no-go gauge. And as you can see with the no-go gauge, the cylinder either doesn't close or it barely closes. I mean, it really doesn't. I can force it closed, but I shouldn't have to force it. So that does show that it does pass the headspace test, and it does have the proper amount of cylinder gap. Thank you. This completes my week 4 assignment for FTH 202-51961. Thank you.